You might have heard the term Islamophobia before, but what does it mean? And is it an issue here in Canada? Well, let's get right into it. This is KN Explains Islamophobia. A quick glance at the term, and it's easy to spot the word Islam. So let's start there. Islam is a religion, and the people who practice the religion are known as Muslims. Or as Mustafa Farooq, CEO of the National Council for Canadian Muslims, puts it,
the word Islam derives from a word which means peace. And for many folks, it's a way of life so that it helps them relate to the divine.
According to the Canadian Census, which is a survey that the federal government sends out to all Canadian households every 5 years, there are over 1 million Canadians who are Muslim, and there are an estimated 1.8 billion Muslims around the world. The second part of that term is phobia, and phobia is defined as an extreme or irrational fear of something. So put the two together, and Islamophobia is defined as an irrational fear or discrimination of or against Muslim people. Now, we know there have been violent attacks by groups claiming to be associated with Islam. Masooma Khan, a community organizer, activist, and artist, says,
that extremism isn't only specific to the Muslim community. You see it in Christian communities, you see it in Jewish communities, you see it in every single religion, whether you're Hindu, Buddhist, there's extremism in all of our communities.
The first recorded use of the term dates back almost 100 years, and further back than that, there has been
a long tradition of looking at Muslims as illogical, as barbaric, as patriarchal. And so there's a really famous writer named Edward Said who wrote a book called Orientalism that looked at how Muslims are looked at as illogical, as barbaric, as violent, and how that sort of was constructed in the colonial moment, and something that's continued in a post-colonial sense as well.
So you might think that in a country like Canada, this old discriminatory mindset wouldn't really exist, but you would be wrong. Khan says,
it's a huge issue in Canada, ginormous, and I think that we are seeing an uprise in Islamophobia, in violence towards Muslim people across the country.
There is a sad statistic that really brings that home. According to a report by the National Council for Canadian Muslims, over the last 5 years, more Muslims have been killed in targeted hate attacks in Canada than any other country in the G7. You might remember the family in London, Ontario, that was killed in June 2021 in a targeted hate attack. And while that is an extreme example of Islamophobia,
but really simply, Islamophobia is, like a kind of anti-Muslim hate. And so that gets manifested in a bunch of different kinds of ways.
It can range from extreme violence to bullying, teasing, and hateful words or terms. Masooma Khan says that lots of Muslim kids
might get asked where they were born, where they're really from, where they learned English, why their mom wears that thing on her head. Lots of questions like that. It's really, really hard when people make fun of your name and your culture and your religion.
Hearing about this kind of stuff is difficult, but it begs the question, why does it happen and where does it come from? According to Farooq,
I think perhaps this might be one of the larger reasons, is that a lot of people just don't know anything about their Canadian Muslim, friends and neighbors. A lot of times all they know is what they see on Homeland or on 24.
There's so many examples in media and television where
oftentimes what people see is, depictions of Muslims as terrorists or depictions of Muslims as violent or barbaric. And I think because of that, a lot of folks just don't know anything about our community.
Farooq says because of that, the Muslim community can be reduced to stereotypes.
There was an FBI study that came out a few years back that showed that 97% of homegrown terrorism that happened in North America was committed by folks who were not, tied to, ostensibly Muslim movements.
So what is being done about this issue in Canada, and is it enough?
So I think that, no, we're not doing enough.
So there has been a response from various levels of government in Canada. In January 2022, the federal government announced that they will be appointing a special representative to combat Islamophobia. The appointment is part of the renewed Government of Canada anti-racism strategy. They have also added various groups and individuals associated with white nationalism and Islamophobia to its list of terrorist entities. But Khan feels that combating Islamophobia needs to take place on the community level and in our schools as well.
There really needs to be an overhaul in the kind of education that we're providing our youth, because I feel like if we were teaching youth in schools these days about how racism and all systems of oppression are interconnected, we'd be raising a generation of youth that are not Islamophobic, not anti-Black, not anti-Indigenous.
Some school boards, like the Peel District School Board in Ontario, have adopted an anti-Islamophobia strategy, which includes mandatory training for all staff. And some provinces have taken action as well. The Ontario government set aside $300,000 to help combat Islamophobia in schools across the province. British Columbia has made October Islamic Heritage Month and noted its commitment to creating a kindergarten to grade 12 anti-racism action plan with an anti-Islamophobia strategy.
I think the vast majority of Canadians want this to stop. And I think the vast majority of Canadians are good, decent people who would never want to hurt anybody. But what I also think is that there's a very famous philosopher who said that all that is required for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. And oftentimes what we see is just not enough actual action being taken to challenge the challenge that's in front of us.
So while there are some tangible changes and efforts to combat Islamophobia in place, it is still a problem in this country, and many feel it is still getting worse. That's it for KN Explains. For CBC Kids News, I'm Sarah Chaudhry. This is a difficult and complex topic, and the following people really helped me with this video. Mustafa Farooq is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Council of Canadian Muslims and is also a lawyer. Masooma Khan is a community organizer, activist, and artist. I also referenced information from the Government of Canada, CBC, the Canadian Encyclopedia, and the Montreal Gazette.